Alex, welcome to Java'da Istanbul 2017.
Thank you for having me.
Alex Bolboaca is CTO in Mozaic Works and our keynote speaker in Java'da Istanbul 2017. And we have a few questions for you, if you would. First question would be, what is usable software design and why should I care about it?
Okay, so the idea of usable software design is about bridging a gap between business and development. And the gap is that business wants faster features and they want more productivity and so on. And on the development side, we struggle with these things. And we know the solutions. The solutions are there. It's like solid principles and clean code and test-driven development and all these practices, but then it's hard to adopt them. So usable software design gives you the why behind the practices. It tells you how we can, for example, improve efficiency in our work by adjusting the design so that it's a bit faster. And it tries to do the same thing as usability and user-centered design did in 1960s, 1970s, which was a revolution. Until then, most products were engineering-driven. And you had to read a lot of manuals to use them, and you had to be trained and so on. But now we have mobile phones that you can use immediately, and the child can use immediately. And the reason is that we started thinking about and placing the user in the center instead of placing the engineer in the center. And in case of software design, the user is the developer. So if we change our perspective and start looking at developer being in the center, using the code, and apply some of the things that people have done for user experience, we will get similar economical benefits. Now, I have to say that this is a theory because this is a very new idea. It has about 2 years, and it still hasn't spread as much as to say, yeah, it will definitely happen. It definitely has these advantages, but it shows promise.
So, imagine a software team and they're in firefighting. So where should they start applying usable software design, and what are suggestions about this?
So typically teams who are in firefighting mode don't have time to change fundamentally the things that they are doing. So it's very hard, for example, to go to a team that's in firefighting mode and say, okay, now start applying test-driven development because it will solve all your problems. It doesn't work because they need to learn like 6 months and practice before they can actually be productive. And it turns out that there are smaller things that you can do and that come from this idea of usable software design. And one common example is when you have a lot of bugs. You can either firefight and fix the bug and then get some other bugs and then fix those and get some other bugs and so on, and you are continuously in firefighting mode. Or what you can do is to look at the bugs that you had, do an analysis, do a root cause analysis, figure out what's the root cause of the bugs and fix the root cause. And typically the root cause you can fix with just a small adjustment in the design. And this doesn't take a long time. I've done this with a team, and it took us about a day to figure out what are the changes to be made. And then they probably in about a day fixed the root cause and didn't get at least the same type of bugs again. So this is one small thing you can do, but there are also others. But I think this is a very good example.
About design patterns, where does design patterns stand on usable software design?
So, of course, because we are talking about software design, we are also talking about using some of the practices and ideas that we learned before. And, of course, design patterns are very powerful. Now, what I've noticed is that we can do something slightly different from design patterns, which I call design elements. And the idea is to figure out kind of design patterns that are particular for your product. And let me give you an example. We have in the product we are working on right now, we have a set of design elements, and one of them is called the command object, and it has a very clear intent. The command object is validating the input, delegating all saving, reading from the database to other design elements. And what this does, it gives you consistency. So for whenever you need to read things to display on a page, you know you'll go through certain steps and through certain design elements. And then it's very easy to reason about the code. It's very easy to understand it. We also know how to test each of these design elements, so we don't ask ourselves every time how to do it. We already know. So this sped up our development, and it gave us less room for bugs, and we have less bugs because of this. It doesn't solve everything, of course, but it's a step. You can, of course, use the normal design patterns, but then there's an additional step that you can do to get even better results, I think.
Can usable software design be measured? If yes, which metrics could be calculated?
Yeah, so because we are talking about usable software design, what it means structuring the code so that it exhibits the same qualities as usability for other types of design. And usability is pretty well defined. It has five different design qualities. And let me give you an example. One of them is learnability. Learnability means how fast, once you see, for example, a device, how fast can you start using it? And for devices, it's very easy, but if we talk for existing code bases, using it, and the similar thing is, if you hire 50 more developers, how long will it take for them to learn and become productive with the existing design? And it doesn't matter that much if you want to hire 2-3 developers. It's probably fine if it's 2 months, if it's 6 months, okay. But if you want to hire 50 developers, it starts making a lot of sense to optimize for that. So what you can measure is, for example, if you want to hire 50 developers, first hire 2-3, see where they struggle, adjust the design, improve it for learnability, and then roll out and hire more people. Or another way of doing this is bring in people from other teams who don't know what you are working on, do a usability test on your design, and see what challenges they have to learn it, and then adjust it and get more people to. So one measurement is how fast it takes for people to become productive. Of course, it's not precise. It has an error margin, but it's already good. Another thing that we do is we use Kanban and we measure cycle time for user stories. And what this means is if we see, kind of have an expectation of where these things go, because they tend to be statistically on a certain curve, on a Gauss curve. And then if our usual cycle time is 2 days, but something takes 7 days, and we expect to do more of that thing, then we can ask ourselves, okay, why did it take so long? What can we change in the design so that it's faster the next time? And this is true for all typical tasks that we do. And by typical, I don't mean simple, but I mean things that you do, like if you're doing a web application, you probably will have more requests to add, more elements in the page, more actions, saving data, retrieving data. These things are typical. If these take you 2 weeks, then they multiply very quickly. If they take you 2 hours, then it's already very fast. So these are a few indicators you can use.
Anything you'd like to add?
Yes, so this is we still have a lot more to learn about this topic. So I encourage people to discuss with me, to ask me questions, to try these practices. I also wrote a book for people who want to read more about it, and it's on LeanPub. It's called Usable Software Design. But mostly what I want to have is more conversations and more people trying. And let's see if we can do this and if we can make other developers feel better working with the code, with the existing system, because we know it's a big problem. So.
Great. Thank you for your time. Thank you for participating in Java Day.
Thank you for having me.